almost instantly devoured by the sudden, oppressive silence of the chamber. The air itself thickens, heavy with ancient secrets. They were imprisoned, even before their names were engraved in gold, before the first pearl touched their brow, before the silken veils fell. No one was meant to hear that whisper, those tears behind locked doors. But I heard, always. From the deepest shadow, behind this very pillar, I watched as the empire's grandest tapestry unfurled. The light, fractured by stained glass, played across surfaces of polished onyx and mother-of-pearl. Our gaze slides, lingering on an inlaid ebony casket, its intricate floral motifs glinting beneath a layer of undisturbed dust. A cascade of crimson velvet pools at the feet of a figure I cannot name, her face obscured by the intricate patterns of a prayer rug. Her hand, a delicate sculpture of alabaster, trembled ever so slightly as it traced the cold, gilded edge of an ottoman. Such finery, such exquisite, suffocating beauty. A world woven from the finest silk, scented with amber and betrayal. A gilded cage, yes, but not a metaphor, understand? This was no idle turn of phrase. This was the fortress itself, built with the bloodline's weight, each stone mortared in generations of enforced silence. Here, a single tear could drown 1,000 hopes. A stolen glance, a misplaced jewel, a lingering scent of forbidden jasmine. Any could be a poisoned arrow. For the Sultan's favor, for the dynasty's very breath, women became strategists, poets of the subtle knife. Their lives, their very existence, were measured by the fragile thread of a whisper, the fleeting warmth of a smile, or the sudden, absolute chill of a decree. Every breath taken, every sigh exhaled was accounted for, weighed against the precarious balance of power. The lustrous shine of gold, the cool touch of marble, the endless flow of costly perfumes. These were not comforts. They were bars, invisible yet unyielding, binding. A gilded cage where every breath was measured, every sigh a silent scream lost in the rustle of rich garments. The fleeting shadow of a guard in a gilded corridor, the distant click of a lock. These were the tangible walls of their golden prison. They were queens, yes, but first and always they were prisoners of gold. The silence, that heavy velvet blanket of sorrow that smothered the private chambers, it lifts. For a moment it lifts, revealing not solace, but spectacle. Do you hear it? The faint murmur of the world outside, the distant drums of celebration? Step closer if you dare. Beyond these shadowed pillars, where I stand, the Sultan's court unfurls like a peacock's fan, dazzling and deadly. The air, thick with the intoxicating breath of jasmine and the metallic tang of gold, shimmers under the weight of untold riches. From distant, conquered lands, a ceaseless river of tribute flows. Spices that ignite the senses, furs soft as midnight, and jewels that capture the very light of the heavens. Each day, a new tableau of power is painted across the marble halls. Ceremonies, elaborate ballets of obeisance and grandeur, designed to awe, to subdue, to proclaim an empire's unending might. But look closer, beyond the gleaming surfaces, past the endless gleam of gold and the whisper of fine silk that drapes every form. Beneath this intoxicating veneer of majesty, another current pulls, dark and relentless. This, my friends, is not merely a court, it is an arena. And the players? Oh, the players are magnificent. This is the Game of Queens, a ruthless ballet where every graceful turn, every delicate hand gesture, every lowered gaze conceals a sharpened blade. Each smile exchanged across a crowded chamber, a calculated feint. Every precious gift bestowed, a pawn moved on a deadly chessboard. An alliance forged over sweetened sherbet? A temporary truce, perhaps, but never a true peace. For here, loyalty is a fleeting currency, easily bought, more easily betrayed. You see them, don't you? The sultanas. Adorned in silks that could buy a small kingdom, their jewels catching the light like frozen tears. Majestic, yes. Alluring, undeniably so. But beneath the surface, a constant, flickering flame of watchfulness burns in their eyes. Observe the subtle dance. A swift, almost imperceptible exchange of glances across the feasting table. A meaningful pause in conversation, laden with unspoken challenge or unspoken threat. A slight tightening of the lips, a momentary hardening of the gaze as another passes by. These are the hieroglyphs of power, inscribed not on stone, but on the very fabric of their existence. Every breath, every movement, a testament to the treacherous ground they walk. For betrayal, like a serpent, coiled and ready, lies hidden behind every ornate pillar, behind every tapestry, behind every whispered word of flattery. And upon this precarious stage, what hangs in the balance? Not merely a jewel, not merely a favored position, but the very dynasty itself. This grand, sprawling empire, built on the backs of conquerors and the blood of the fallen, teeters on the delicate threads of their influence and the cold, unyielding grip of fear. The silence that often follows a courtly decree or a sudden, unexpected illness. It speaks volumes, doesn't it? It tells of choices made, of prices paid. For in this golden cage, behind closed doors, the game is never truly over. It merely pauses, waiting for the next dawn, for the next move, for the next queen to weep or to conquer. The gilded cage, my dear ones, often began with a whisper, a promise of power, a fleeting touch of the Sultan's hand. But then, the walls of that golden prison began to close, inch by agonizing inch, until the air itself grew thin with expectation and dread. For once a woman bore a son, her fate was irrevocably entwined with his. Her heart, once her own, became a shield, a weapon, a fortress for the future. The very bloodline of this magnificent dynasty rested on the slender shoulders of these women, and the pressure, the pressure was a sculptor, chiseling away at their souls until only the hardest stone remained. Look closer, beyond the shimmering silks and the jewels that caught every flicker of light. Can you see it? The subtle shift in a woman's gaze when a rival's name was uttered. The almost imperceptible tightening of her fingers around a fan when another bore a healthy son. This wasn't malice, not always. It was the primal scream of survival, echoing in the opulent silence of these chambers. For in this world, a mother's love was not a soft embrace. It was a sharpened blade, ready to carve a path through any obstacle, real or imagined, that threatened her child's ascension. Do you understand the weight of such a love? The way it could transform even the most gentle soul into a strategist, a silent warrior in the most dangerous of games. Motherhood here was less a blessing and more a brutal, strategic position on a chessboard where human lives were pawns. Consider the scene before you. The grand hall, awash in the muted glow of 1,000 candles. The air thick with incense and the unspoken weight of centuries. A ceremonial tray is brought forth, laden with ornate cups of sherbet, sugared fruit, rose water, the scent of spring captured in liquid form. But as the cup is presented to the sultana, her eyes, usually serene, betray a flicker of something colder, sharper. A flicker that disappears as quickly as it came, replaced by the practiced, serene mask of power. She accepts it, her fingers brushing the cool, polished silver. A moment stretches, an eternity woven into a single breath. The musicians play, a distant melody, yet in her mind, the silence roars. Is it clean, that glistening liquid? Or does it carry the silent, chilling promise of poison? A single, swift drop meant to silence a burgeoning threat, to sever a hopeful bloodline before it could bloom. The slightest tremor, the merest hint of a bitter aftertaste could spell the end. This was the gamble every day. The choices made here, my friends, were not born of petty jealousy. They were born of absolute necessity. To protect, to secure, to ensure. The system itself, a magnificent, brutal engine of power, demanded these sacrifices, these ruthless calculations. A mother fought not just for herself, but for the very breath of her child, for his future, for the glory of a legacy that transcended individual lives. The crown, you see, was never merely a symbol. It was a burden, forged in ambition, sustained by blood, and often by betrayal. And what of the secrets that unravel in the dead of night? Imagine a hand, trembling slightly, holding a heavy parchment. A silk ribbon, once tightly bound, now lies in delicate disarray. The seal, broken. Not torn violently, but carefully, meticulously prized apart. A fragile piece of wax, now shattered, revealing a truth meant to stay buried. What revelation, what damning truth, what chilling betrayal did that shattered wax unveil? A clandestine meeting recorded, a whispered alliance forged in the shadows, a secret missive naming a co-conspirator? Or perhaps a decree, a fatal order, already set in motion, confirming the death sentence of a rival prince, a threat to her son. The ink, dry and cold, sealing a fate. The very walls, it seemed, absorbed these secrets, becoming silent witnesses to the unraveling of lives, the forging of destinies. The rhythm quickens, doesn't it? The beat of the drum grows louder. For in this lethal dance, where every gesture held meaning, every smile hid intent, and every act of tenderness could be a meticulously planned maneuver, the stakes were always, irrevocably, deadly. The shadows stretch longer now, consuming more of the room, more of the truth. And in that deepening gloom, the whispers begin anew, weaving their intricate web of loyalty and treachery, of desperate love and cold ambition. Silence here was rarely empty. It was filled with unspoken threats, with the rustle of schemes, and with the chilling, undeniable pulse of a dynasty fighting for its very survival. Вы видели величие, не так ли? Драгоценности, что искрились, шелка, что шелестели с каждым шагом амбиции. Шепот власти, что эхом отдавался в этих самых залах, симфония крови и династии. Но что насчет нот, неспетых? Той тяжелой тишины, что опускалась, когда последний придворный склонялся в поклоне, когда сам султан удалялся в свое избранное уединение. Танец власти — сложный балет предательства и выживания. Он поглощал их, да. Но когда занавес опускался на дневное представление, когда отравленный кубок был отставлен в сторону, и тени удлинялись по их позолоченным покоям, тогда, мой друг, наступала истинная расплата — султана. Титул, что обещал абсолютное влияние, безраздельное господство. И все же, присмотритесь повнимательнее. Увидьте незримые нити, что связывали ее. Неписанные законы, что управляли каждым вдохом, каждым взглядом. Постоянное наблюдение, всегда присутствующая угроза ошибочного шага, дурно сказанного слова, утраченной милости. Ее великолепные апартаменты, крепость от мира, становились ее самой изысканной тюрьмой. Сам воздух становился тяжелым, густым от невысказанной тоски. Она была царицей тысячи глаз, но при этом совершенно одинока. Ни один конфидент не был по-настоящему в безопасности. Ни одно объятие не было без скрытого умысла. Ее дети, ее наследие часто были лишь пешками в более крупной, более жестокой игре. Даже ее любовь, если она когда-либо расцветала, была хрупким цветком в пустыне политических расчетов. Посмотрите на нее сейчас. Она проходит по комнатам, полным искусства, сокровищ из завоеванных земель. Ее пальцы, украшенные рубинами, праздно обводят замысловатые узоры на диване. Глубокий вздох, почти незаметный. И затем мгновение. Ее рука соскальзывает, кусок тончайшего шелка, платок, вышитый имперским гербом, падает на мраморный пол. Она опускает взгляд. Мимолетная тень пересекает ее лицо. Слеза? Возможно. Невидимая, неслышимая, тотчас же стертая тяжелым грузом ее публичной маски. Никто никогда не должен был знать. Никто не смел знать. Ибо чем была султана на самом деле за этими закрытыми дверями? Ни богиней, ни стальной императрицей, но женщиной, скованной теми самыми цепями своего рождения, тоскующей по свободе, которой она никогда не могла обладать.
Это, мой друг, была истинная запертая дверь. Не из дерева и железа, но самой души. Душа, заключенная в золото, чьи крики поглощались роскошной тишиной. Никто никогда не должен был знать их истинной цены. The gilded cage. Its echoes linger, long after the last breath, long after the last tear has dried on forbidden silk. You have seen their power, felt the tremor of their decisions ripple through the grandest halls. Yet, remember the whispers that died before reaching the ears of men. Remember the shadows that danced behind closed doors. They stood at the apex of an empire, these women, their names etched into the very bloodline of a dynasty. But their throne was also their prison. A gilded cage indeed, where every comfort was a chain, every privilege a binding vow. Their tears were not born of weakness, no. They were the silent, burning testament to a burden no man could ever truly bear. The weight of choices not made freely, but thrust upon them by the relentless machinery of power. The bitter taste of betrayal, often woven into the very fabric of those they swore to protect. A poison not poured into a chalice, but into the soul itself. Each tear, a drop of the human cost demanded by the survival of an empire. A price paid in silence, behind doors that gleamed with gold and mother of pearl, yet sealed their fate. They were forced to watch, to scheme, to sacrifice, all for the preservation of a future that was never truly their own. But underestimate them at your peril. For from that profound grief, from the unbearable pressure of their gilded confinement, they forged steel. They twisted their sorrow into strength, their despair into an unyielding will. They were prisoners, yes, bound by the rigid laws of tradition and the constant threat lurking in every corridor. Yet they were also smiths of their fate, hammering history into shape with every hushed decree, every calculated move, every silent tear that no one was ever to know. The echoes remain. Listen closely. What sacrifices, what unyielding will, what untold stories lie behind that closed, ornate door?